pull into the whose driveway here now. See what's going on.
He's around the corner.
Around the corner?
Freeze. Turn around. Have anything on you?
Well, we just apprehended the Grinch, trying to break into a house, trying to steal Christmas. That's not gonna happen on our watch. Ooh, and he's a foul one, too.
This video shows filmmaker and satirist Ami Horowitz on the campus of Yale University. He's asking students to sign a petition calling for a repeal of the First Amendment. That amendment upholds the free exercise of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, the right to peacefully assemble, and the right to petition.
What we're calling for is a petition to repeal the First Amendment.
A Yale spokesman called the clip a heavily edited prank video, but Horowitz says he was able to quickly gather more than 50 signatures in less than an hour. Many of those who signed, he believes, were students. Free speech advocates like Ari Khan at FIRE say the video is cause for concern.
I think it is indicative of a broader trend that we've seen on college campuses lately of subserviating free speech to sensibilities and feelings. And I think that's noteworthy in and of itself.
In the last several decades, hundreds of universities have adopted speech codes. These campus policies consistently violate the First Amendment by prohibiting offensive or disrespectful speech. Now, at campuses across the country, First Amendment advocates are seeking to push back on these codes.
Censorship is like a cancer that eventually spreads out of control, and eventually everyone has something to worry about.
The big concern? Students are now the ones calling for restrictions.
The terrifying thing to me is that the current wave of censorship is coming from the students, not from the faculty.
Still, it's a big leap for students to want to overthrow the First Amendment, as the Yale video apparently shows.
I think students often don't consider the practical implications of arguments against free speech. And I think that the video maybe in some way exposes that because, ironically, abolishing the First Amendment would abolish Horowitz's right to circulate such a petition and the students' right to sign such a petition.
Free speech advocates say this video should serve as a wake-up call. Apparently, a new generation doesn't view the First Amendment the way so many Americans have for so long.
Well, after 32 years of banning blood donations from gay and bisexual men, federal health officials are now lifting the lifetime ban, allowing them to donate to our nation's blood supply. The ban initially went into effect during the early AIDS crisis, but medical groups and gay activists have argued the ban could no longer be justified due to modern screening methods. It's not a total victory for these activists, however. Major restrictions will remain on who can donate. For example, gay and bisexual males must not have had sex with another man for at least 1 year prior to donating. Critics of the provision argue it's a double standard and question how abstinence can even be proven in the first place. The Food and Drug Administration says the change is, quote, backed by sound science and continues to protect our blood supply.
A restaurant chain in Texas is warning customers that their eatery is, quote, politically incorrect. The CEO of Berry Hill Baja Grill says he's Jewish and he still sees nothing wrong with saying Merry Christmas. The chain has posted signs outside all 9 locations, saying Merry Christmas, God bless America, and in God we trust. The sign also notes that customers can leave if they are offended.
Folks have probably heard now about the mix-up at the Miss Universe contest where the wrong woman was crowned, but you may not have heard about what happened to Miss Puerto Rico. She was suspended for tweeting comments opposing Islam. It all started when filmmaker Michael Moore tweeted that everyone should post photos with signs that say we are all Muslim. But Destiny Velez, she didn't like that idea. She tweeted, there's no comparison between Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Jews nor Christians have terrorizing agendas in their sacred books. CNN reports Velez has apologized and her Twitter account has been taken down, but the Miss Puerto Rico organization has still suspended her.
Protesters in Minneapolis have attempted to shut down the city's airport this afternoon.
Black lives, they matter here! Black lives, they matter here! Black lives, they matter.
The group representing the Black Lives Matter movement blocked 2 roads outside a terminal before state police ordered the group to disperse and reopen the roads. The protesters have been calling for an investigation into the police shooting death of 24-year-old Jamar Clark. Critics say Clark was handcuffed when he was shot and killed by a police officer. Earlier in the day, organizers of the group promised that a demonstration involving hundreds of protesters would shut down the Mall of America, the nation's largest. However, only a few people gathered before they were removed by officers wearing riot gear. In anticipation of the demonstration, the mall had closed several stores on one of the busiest shopping days of the season.
81% of the nation's abortion clinics have closed. In 1991, there were 2,200 clinics performing surgical abortions in America. Now it's just 517. 2,200 down to 517. Anti-abortion group Operation Rescue keeps track of these numbers and says this is particularly good news because there's a correlation. When abortion clinics close, abortion numbers go down. Reverend Pat Mahoney of the Christian Defense Coalition on the significance of this steadily falling number.
It shows that America's growing completely uncomfortable with abortion on demand. We're seeing not only the numbers of abortion reduced dramatically, but support for abortion reduced dramatically.
Mahoney was joining other pro-life types in front of a building where abortions are performed here in Falls Church, Virginia. The idea was to sing Christmas carols and create such a sweet spirit in the atmosphere, abortion-minded women passing by wouldn't want to go through with the operation. It was a repeat of caroling here Saturday, December 19th. But the peace that day was interrupted repeatedly when abortion patient escorts kept yelling loudly at the pro-life people.
They were doing abortions here on Saturday, so there were several escorts here. They came out and yelled at us several times.
Police showed up, but rather than quiet the escorts, they warned the pro-lifers their Christmas carols were in violation of the city's noise ordinance, which also forbids loud talking and whistling.
So it says here on 15 that there's no singing allowed?
Yes, ma'am.
After a religious rights legal group wrote the city, Falls Church backed down and said the carolers would be welcomed back. But those who went through the encounter with the police think Americans should know that even something as innocent as Christmas caroling can get you in trouble with the law if you're a pro-lifer.
We were here praying and singing Christmas carols. We were here to share the joy of Christmas with people who were desperate to hear it.
Here on this sidewalk, the First Amendment was struck down. We had to respond. What happens when the government says you cannot express your First Amendment rights in public? You go back and do it.
This was the horrific event that triggered a massive debate on rising religious intolerance in India. Late at night, on September 28th, a mob stormed into a Muslim family's home, dragged the father and son out by their hair, and started beating them with sticks and bricks on rumors they had eaten beef. The father died, the son critically injured. Now, 15 suspects have been formally charged. India is predominantly Hindu, and Hindus believe cows are sacred. Slaughtering them is banned in most Indian states. In a span of 6 weeks, 3 more Muslim men were killed on rumors they had either eaten, transported, or slaughtered cows. This was a wake-up call for many Indians. Had India really become so intolerant? Ever since Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to power in May 2014, many feared his Hindu national supporters were emboldened by his election, and attacks along religious lines are on the rise. Despite the government's condemnation of religious violence, critics say they're not doing enough to discourage such attacks. And it's not just about beef. Some Muslims and Christians claim they have been forced to convert into Hinduism by fringe groups. Prominent secular authors have been killed for their writings against Hindu mythology, and black ink was smeared on this man for simply holding a book launch with a Pakistani politician turned writer. In protest, more than 40 prominent authors have returned their national awards. They say they are being stifled in a country that has always been an open, secular, and pluralistic society. They say what's at stake is the very essence of India.
Moving on, our mortar shell fired by Daesh Takfiri militants slams into a school in Syria's eastern city of Deir al-Zawar, killing
at least 9 schoolgirls. The attack has reportedly left 20 others wounded. Some sources say the fatalities are likely to increase, as many of the wounded are in critical condition. Civilian structures, especially schools, have frequently been targeted by Daesh and other foreign-backed militants in Syria. Just last week, rocket strikes on a school district in Damascus suburbs killed dozens on the same day. Mortar attacks targeting residential neighborhoods in the capital killed 3 and wounded at least 30 people. The attacks come as Syrian troops backed by Russian airstrikes have liberated many areas from militants dealing heavy blows to them.